Hello.
Hello.
Okay, let me just test out PowerPoint. Is this showing up okay?
Yeah, it's showing up fine.
Okay, cool. Let me just get out of that mode for now, but we know it's there and it's working, and that's the important thing. Let me make sure that this is actually recording, that it started okay. Okay, yes. All right.
Okay, well, it's deja vu all over again. I'm going to introduce Kathy again and emphasize I do think it's important that people go in and sign up right now, even if they don't want to start their grant, so that we can see any issues. Don't you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think plenty of people are actually starting. Although I'm saying that I think there's only one CAIG application that's actually like in the works for Plant Museum right now. Um, unless that changed. Last I looked was this morning. But yeah, either way, I think it's good to encourage them to actually go start their application. Yes.
Well, the attendance for the other was better than I expected, so that's great.
Yes. Yes, it was good. Sorry, I was just checking email for a second.
I
Hello,
just got
Kathy.
a call from Nick from the Philippine.
I
He
just
didn't have the link, so I resent it to him. I don't know. I just resent it again.
thought I sent him the link. He called me about 15 minutes ago. So, man,
Well,
he's
I-
already got
At
your
least
phone
we know
number,
that
Kathy.
somebody is coming. We know somebody wants to be here. We know we'll have at least one attendee who's really eager to hear the presentation.
So, man, they all want Kathy's contact information. Look out, Kathy.
I know. I think they think that because I'm a prior grantee, I'm going to somehow have some magic that I'm going to be able to work to get their reimbursements to them.
No,
So I explained to them all. I said, we don't have anything to do. We submit it, and once it's gone, it's like it gets touched by 20 hands, and it comes when it gets there.
No, I think it's enough to have a cheerful voice at the other end of the phone or email talking them through it to make them happy. Not that
Hopefully.
not that Eileen and I have not tried to be that cheerful voice. We just haven't been able to devote ourselves entirely to them. So
And I explained that to somebody I think the guy from Carrollwood Players, I said, Eileen has been doing 2 jobs for the last however many months. And I said,
Almost 3
hopefully,
years.
okay, well, hopefully I will be able to hopefully, I'll encourage them to get stuff in a little bit earlier, and then we can hopefully get them some money. Because I understand. I mean, he said they've got some bills they need to pay for upcoming events. But I tried to explain, I said, there's only so much we can do. Once we process it, it sort of is out of our hands.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, we've not been successful at getting these payments through any quicker than they're getting through. That's interesting. We should look at the spreadsheet tomorrow and see when their last when we sent over the last payment for them was, Kathy.
Because they
Who
said
are we
he said he
talking about?
submitted Carrollwood Players.
Oh, okay.
They
Jim.
submitted theirs on May 30th. And then
Yep.
Tampa Rep wants to know the status of theirs as well, but it looks like you guys just spoke with them like last week.
Last week. I don't even.
There was an email that came in that went through both of you, and
From the guy. It was
yeah.
it was a
Jim?
guy. It wasn't
Yeah.
our regular, the one that's been making it. I think he's the new development director. I remember getting that last week. So
Yeah, I mean, we definitely sent Carrollwood Players over. since this is recording, I'm not going to give about a bunch of any specific information about anybody's payments right now, but it's been more than a month, I will say, since we sent that over. So hopefully that means they're gonna be paid shortly, but has been more than a month that they've been waiting for that payment at this point. And same for the Tampa rep folks as well.
Well, we're ready. I still think even though it makes for a challenging day, doing all of these workshops on the same day is you kind of put your head around workshop mode and kind of do them all as opposed to spreading them for this particular aberrant year. It seemed like the best way to go.
I think it makes sense to do it this way. I mean,
Yeah, I don't have any problem with it. Just keep going.
yeah.
Check it off the list, check off the list, check off the list. I thought all the questions that they asked previously were relevant and good and solid questions. So, Kathy, sometimes we get no questions, and then we're really suspicious.
I think
Yeah,
sometimes
I mean,
people don't want to think that you think they don't know what they're doing, so they don't like to ask questions in something like this.
No,
that's
it's
fair, especially if they've gotten it before. They might feel a
Right.
little, you know.
Like
well,
we're taking notes who asked questions and that's going to score against them somehow.
I think the
we
fact
don't
that
do
it's
that.
a new online grant system makes it maybe easier to it's new to everyone to some degree, including us.
Yes. By the way, I did get the video from the last workshop, so I downloaded that. We can get that on to YouTube fairly soon, I think.
Eileen, you did an excellent job of clarifying about the logo. I think that's the best job we've ever done in explaining that they have to have the contract, that it's not like the old days when they could just drop it off the website. So good job. Hope
Well, that's still a relatively new process, that's that they just did that a couple months ago, where like we can't just willy-nilly give it out either.
and it doesn't help that we changed the logo like 3 times in 3 years.
No, I'm sure that was a little confusing for everyone. Like, here's our new logo, and here's our new logo again, and now we have a different logo.
So I think
Just yeah.
well, we gave them a full year to kind of adjust to it without any consequences. So I think now we can
Yes.
crack the whip a little bit more.
I'm admitting, Melissa, here we go.
Well, I feel better if we could see Nick showing up after he had trouble logging in.
Yeah. Hopefully the link that either Kathy or that you sent works and they can get in.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the FY24 Community Arts Impact Grant Workshop. We're still having some people come in, but we're going to start before the presentation with a little bit of housekeeping details. First of all, I'm Martine Collier. I'm the Division Director of the Arts Council, and I want to introduce you to our wonderful staff members that are on this call today. Eileen Blake, who some of you may already know, and then our brand new project manager, Kathy Collins, that you will know very well very soon. And Kathy comes to us of special interest to Community Arts Impact Grant member. She was previously at Winthrop Arts and has been a Community Arts Impact Grant recipient in the past and is very familiar with the system. She's familiar with the challenges that you all have, and she will be helping you not just manage the application, but also the reimbursements for those of you that are current grantees. The other housekeeping detail I want to talk about is the Community Arts Impact Grant and all of our grants are being opened up much later this year than is typical. Typically, they're all done on a staggered basis, not all at the same time. The reason for this is we have spent the last 9 months or so in transforming to a new online grant system. It's called Neighborly. It replaces the former system SurveyMonkey, and we think it's going to be much more intuitive and robust and be easier for our grantees to navigate and prospective grantees, easier for staff, and also easier for the grant reviewers that review your application. This is an unusual year, but I want you to know that next year we'll be going back to the schedule that if you are a current grantee, you may remember it will be earlier in the year and all of our grants will be staggered. But for this year, we're releasing them all at once, and this is the reason for it. I also want to note that because this is a brand new grant system and we just opened up the applications yesterday, there may be some bumps in the road. So we want you to communicate with us in real time if you have any difficulties with the system. And also at the end of the grant process, we'll be sending out a survey to get your input so that if there are changes that need to be made in the future, we are aware of that. I'll mention this later on in the presentation, but even if you aren't ready to start your grant application yet, I strongly encourage you to follow the prompts we'll be showing you in the presentation to go in and register for this new system and make sure everything's working for you. That's so that if there is a problem, we have plenty of time with the developer to fix it for you. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and start the presentation, Eileen. Mark is not seeing or hearing anything. Eileen, what should we tell Mark? He seems to, I see him on the list of participants. Are you sure your microphone is turned on? Mark, you should be able to see us.
I honestly, Martine, I don't know why is anybody else having technical difficulties seeing or hearing us?
Mark, worst case scenario that you can't see or hear us, this is all being recorded and we can send the recording to you after that. So we're not sure what's going on, but that's our backup plan if you can't get in. But meanwhile, let's go ahead and start the presentation with the first slide. Okay, this is the Community Arts Impact Grant Workshop. And the overview of this grant, very little has changed. There are a few things, minor things that have changed, but it's still for specific arts and culture centered projects. It is still a minimum score of 75. What has changed is there used to be 2 separate grant applications, one for nonprofits and one for colleges and universities. This has now been put into, there were so many similarities between the two that we have merged this into one grant application, and there will be prompts to follow if you're a nonprofit versus a college and university. Most of the information will be the same. The grant activities deadline between 11/1/2023 and 8/15/2024 is the same, but it all is in one application now. Next slide, Eileen. Again, most of this has not changed. The eligibility remains the same. it's a reimbursement-based grant, as those of you who are current grantees know. These are the requirements. You have to be a 501c3 in good standing. You have to be based in Hillsborough County. You cannot receive funding from other Arts Council grant programs or county funds. I accept the special event partnership grant recipients who apply to fund a different project. Basically, all of that has remained the same. The nonprofit applicant, this grant was designed and launched in 2018, primarily to serve the small, emerging, and grassroots arts and cultural organizations in our community, and social service agencies who facilitate these programs, ethnic and cultural organizations, all sorts of organizations. Unlike our cultural development grant, this grant is available to any nonprofit, not just a cultural nonprofit, doing projects of a cultural nature. And we think that's very important, an important role for the Arts Council to fill countywide. So here are some examples of nonprofit project examples, but this is not inclusive. You may have a project that would fit that's not listed here, but classes, concerts, printing cost, productions, exhibition cost. The only thing to remember is it must be within the disciplines noted in the final bullet. But there's quite a bit of flexibility here. Now, here are the projects that are not eligible. Projects planned primarily for fundraising purposes. Also projects to reduce existing deficits. Very important, any projects not open to the general public or restricted for membership only are not eligible, because the goal here is to reach as many citizens of Hillsborough County as possible. And also capital projects are not eligible. So here are the specifics regarding the Community Arts Impact Grant for colleges and universities. Any department division of a county college or university with administrative offices located in Hillsborough County is eligible. Again, this is project support, and it focuses on community impact through arts and cultural programming. Very important, students and faculty of the college or university are not the focus. This is the community. And it's not intended to provide ongoing operational support or administrative overhead. The project request and budget must be directly related to the project as it is described in your application and how you plan to implement it as described there as well. So the ineligible expenses are private entertainment, food, beverages, again, licensing. It has to be a project that really benefits the citizens. No regranting, no interest, no office expenditures. So important dates. Applications are due July 28th at 5 p.m. But we really encourage you to submit before this date. The reason for this is if we get your application before the date and we see that something is missing, or we have a chance before the application to get back to you and to open up the grant application so you can make that change. So we can't, if you wait until the deadline, we can't help. The deadline is the deadline. So please, if you can plan to submit sooner before the date, that would be good. The review meeting of the Arts Council Advisory Board will take place on September 5th, 2023. There will be a link to this online meeting for you to attend this review process to hear your scores and any feedback about your application. And this can be extremely helpful. And then you will know if you received a score that is qualifies you for funding or not. So we encourage you to mark that date on your calendar. Even though the scores are approved at that meeting, the final approval does not happen until the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners approves not just this grant award, but all the grant awards. And your award is not final before this approval. We anticipate that will happen in October 2023, but you cannot receive a grant agreement and move forward in the process until after that approval takes place. The grant period for this grant is November 1st, 2023 through August 15th, 2024. Expenses incurred prior to November 1st will not be reimbursed. And this is very important, sometimes community arts impact grantees seem to think they can only submit a reimbursement at the end of the process. That's not true. You can submit up to 5 reimbursement requests, and this will possibly help your cash flow. Also, since sometimes going through the county system to get your reimbursement, sometimes there can be a little bit of a delay. So if you are proactive and you get those reimbursements in throughout the year, we can keep that process going, keep you in the pipeline, and keep giving you the grant reimbursements that we know are very important to your operational function. So please remember, you can submit up to 5 reimbursements. All claims for reimbursements must be accompanied by receipts dated within the funding period and submitted via the online grant system. And the final day to submit those is August 15th, 2024. Again, if your project end date was a month or 2 before August 15th, don't wait till that deadline. Submit it, because I will tell you, as the end of the fiscal year approaches, the pipeline in the reimbursement line with the county gets longer and longer. So if we're a little bit ahead of that, it's a better way to position you to get your reimbursement sooner. It's not 100% guarantee, but you really don't want to be submitting at the very end of the fiscal year when everybody else is. So try, if your project has already taken place, please don't procrastinate. Send us the reimbursement so that we can get it into process. And again, all the expenses claimed have to be accompanied by receipts that are dated with the funding period, and they also are submitted on the online grant system no later than August 15th, but hopefully earlier if they're ready. So this is important. This is crediting information. For those of you that were grantees before the Arts Council was part of Hillsborough County government, it's a little bit different now. We used to have our logo on the website. Now you are not eligible to get the logo until after we have a signed grant agreement and it comes through county communications at that point. But it's very, very important to continue this funding, that we follow these crediting requirements, because this is how we thank the Board of County Commission for funding this program. And we also need to put that in a text message, as in bullet 2. All publicity websites, whatever you put out about the project that you were doing, that you were getting the funding out, must credit the BOCC for their support, just like you do your other funders and sponsors. And the logo needs to be on print, both printed and digital promotional materials. And news releases, everything you can think of, we need to have that logo there. Samples that show you met this requirement must be included in the final report for the grant. So, file this away now. This rule was actually in place for the 2023 grant year, but because it was a change, we've kind of given some time to get used to the new logo. But that time has passed now, and for the 2024 year, you must use the correct logo. And we're going to give you some examples in the next slide of what not to use that you may have used before. So incorrect is using the old logo crediting the Arts Council. And we have the old Hillsborough Arts Council logo to the left, and we have the DCA logo, which is no longer current either, to the right. You don't need to worry about any logo except on the slide to the right, Hillsborough County, Florida. That is the only logo you need to credit this funding. Even though it comes from the Arts Council and you used to have a separate logo, this is all you need. And that should make your life easier and your publications cleaner, not to have to use multiple logos to give credit to the county. But please file that away and don't forget. So another thing that is specific to all grants within the county are that similar sponsorship benefits have to be offered to the county as are given to other sponsors. We do need for you to provide access to at least one event program for up to 10 staff members. Now, the Arts Council doesn't have 10 staff members, but this is then offered to other economic development staff members, county commissioners, so it can actually bring more eyes to your programming doing this, and it helps in the staff to monitor your consistency and compliance with the grant agreement. Again, this is one of your programs. It does not have to be the one you expect to sell out. It can be any program that you have during the year to give a better understanding to the county of how you are using this funding. And the last bullet here is really, really important, because please do not forget to let us know when your project takes place. In the application, there's a place to put tentatively when you expect this to happen, but we know that things change. So keep us posted. If you expected to do it in February and you end up doing it in May, just let us know. And then don't forget to post your event or project on the Arts Council website calendar of events. This is important because if you get our monthly newsletter, I hope you do. If you don't, please sign up to get it. But the way the items are chosen to promote in that newsletter comes off the Arts Council calendar of events. So this gives us a chance to highlight what our grantees are doing and promote it to everyone that receives this newsletter. So don't forget to do that. So this is a brand new grant system. So if you've been a grantee before, the SurveyMonkey apply, your logo, your credentials are there, it's completely gone. This is where you need to go. This portal for neighborly software. You need to register only once. There are ways to use the question mark icon to contact technical support for system questions, but your questions may be better answered just by contacting us at the Arts Council, and that's fine. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but please submit your application ahead of the deadline, even if it's just a day or two, as much time as possible to give us a chance to catch any errors that can be fixed before the deadline. After the deadline, Your application stands, whatever you put in, and we can't help you with anything we see in staff review that might be a barrier to your funding. So we're here to help you, but we can only help you if you submit it early. So Eileen's done a good job of showing some of the screenshots of the new online system. You choose your the grant that you're applying for, in this case, the Community Arts Impact Grant. And then it's going to, you need to put a name for the application. And then you can start the application. And there's this handy little bullet list that will show you. A green check mark will appear as you complete each required component of the application process. So it should be fairly easy to follow along. We're going to mention this later on in the presentation, but save as you go through. Make sure you save everything. Just some general tips, and this applies for mostly all of our grants. Clearly state your need. Most importantly, answer the questions asked. This is one thing our grant reviewers often complain about, that someone gave them great, wonderful prose about their organization, but it didn't answer the question being asked. So make sure that you do that. I can't emphasize strongly enough working offline. Put your answers in Word, then check the character count, check the spell check, then copy and paste it into
Martine, are you still there? I think we may have temporarily lost Martine. Oh, there. Now I should think she's back. Wait.
Okay,
Are you
you're
there?
back. Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, okay. Next slide. We're almost ready for questions. So the board of directors list with affiliations, except for the colleges and universities, is required. Optional support documents. You can use anything related to your project. It's okay to combine like documents into one PDF. So you've got letters of support, put them all into one PDF, and then that gives you room for more, for two more things to upload, because only 3 are allowed. So by combining like this, you can tell more about your organization to the grant reviewers. Okay, tips for commitment letters. And this is something else we hear from grant reviewers. When they get a letter that is not on letterhead, and maybe it has a date that is 3 years previous, they are not impressed. So please try and make sure that the letter that you receive in support of your organization is on the organization's letterhead, and that the date is current. And these should be as specific as possible. We mentioned earlier, and we're just reinforcing it here, save the button, click the save button as you progress through that checklist that we showed you, because changes are not automatically saved. So if you don't save it, you could lose it, and we hate for your hard work to go to waste. Any file type is accepted for your uploads, but again, uploads are a good reason to submit before the deadline, because in case there's a technical issue, we can help you resolve it. I mentioned earlier, while you're doing this offline in Word, use spell check. This is something else grant reviewers frequently point out, that misspellings, and they're just unnecessary. So make sure you do that in Word and check the word count and the spelling. If you're going through the application, you don't have a required document ready, you can save and fill in another section and then return later to the document. Remember, they all have to be uploaded before you can click the send button.
I think we are having another little hiccup with Martine. Let's just give her a second, guys, and see if she comes back like she did last time.
Anyway, we strongly encourage you to have someone that you trust review the application, not just for spelling and the other things that you can take care of by spell check, but for content. Do they understand your story? Do they think you're telling your story correctly? Do they have any suggestions for improvement? That second set of eyes, especially when you're really into the process of doing the grant application, can be invaluable. So again, at least the third time we've told you to apply early to avoid problems. And the resources on our website, you can see. Let us know if you have questions. You can email us, or you can call any of us, or email us directly, and apply by Friday, July 28th at 5 p.m. No applications are accepted after this, and we don't make exceptions for that. So with that in mind, I'm going to take a look at any questions that we've gotten in the chat. And before I do, Eileen and Kathy, is there anything you would like to add that I missed, just in terms of general information that you would like Kathy, you've been a grantee for this program. Any helpful tips you'd like to add?
Within the grant process, just make sure that or the application process, just make sure you're explaining what it is you're going to do, and be reasonable with respect to your project. Don't make it something that's pie in the sky. You're not going to be able to do it, and also be able to show that you can actually fund it if it is more than what you're asking for.
Good advice. Good advice. Anything from you, Eileen?
I don't think so. I think most of the things I wanted to cover were things I put in the presentation already.
Okay, you had the advantage over us. You wrote the presentation. Okay, let's look and see questions that we have gotten. Okay, Nick is on the call. He can hear us. That's great. Nick had some trouble getting in. We're still not sure.
I think we may have lost you again, Martine, if you can hear me. Sure, she'll probably be back again in just a second. But let's see
Okay,
here.
sorry about the system going in and out. Irvin, you asked if nonprofits are limited to 5,000, and Kathy answered yes, 1,000 to 5,000. Does the character count include spaces? I don't think it does. Ladies, do Eileen or Kathy, do either of you know for sure? We can find out for sure, but I don't think it does. I know when I do the state grant, it doesn't include spaces, but we can, Kathy says, yes, it includes, so that is answer. Yes, spaces, comments, periods, etc. It's everything that you put in it is the character. Is free entry to the event required? Asked Irvin. Not necessarily free entry, but it has to be open to anyone. It can't be a membership event or something that people have to make a donation to. A ticketing event, ticketed events are eligible, but we have to be careful that to make sure that we aren't restricting it to any particular audience. It has to be open to every citizen in the county. Yes, Melissa, yes, this was a change, and because those people that have been regarding the logo, those people that have been long-term grantees got into such a wonderful routine of including both logos, which was required at the time, but now that we're part of the county, only the one logo is this, and you don't need to list the Arts Council anymore. Just the logo that we showed you there is what we need going forward. And Erica wants to know, is July 28th the due date for the Cultural Development Grant as well? Yes, it is, because of the anomaly of this year starting a new grant process. All of the Arts Council grants have the same opening date, and they all have the same due date. Let's see if we've got some other questions. If you got another question, feel free to put it in and we will try and answer it.
Looks like somebody is typing something right now.
Okay. No, Irvin, the Cultural Development Grant is not for schools. I recommend when you go in, it is for dedicated cultural organizations that have a specific programming history. And when you go to that first screen, when you sign on to the Neighborly system, it will explain the Cultural Development Grant and the Community Arts Impact Grant and the Professional Development Artist Grant. So they will all be listed there, but it is for organizations, cultural organizations with some significant programming history. Any other questions? Well, don't feel like the only way you can ask a question is if you come up with it now. We are all here. Kathy is your first line of defense on questions as the programming manager, but Eileen and I are always available to help. I do want to emphasize once again that since this is a brand new online system, just opened up yesterday, we're doing these grant workshops earlier than we typically do in the process because we want to encourage you to go in and at least register. So that we can make sure that everything is working for you. Erica, yes, we can drop the link for the new application in the chat. Kathy, could you do that while I continue to answer some questions?
I just posted.
Oh, Eileen did it. Okay, either way, that's good. Anyway, we hope this was helpful. We're glad that you came. Attending this workshop is really your best avenue to being successful and being as informed as you can be. But we also want to, we're always available, but we do, because this is the first year with this system, please, before you're ready to work on the application, go follow the link that Eileen sent and go in and make sure you can register and navigate through it. And if you can't, let us know, because we are still in touch with the developer and we can help fix that. And Tad, yes, we have taped this and we will make this available to all the participants. Oh, Eileen already answered. Eileen's so fast. She answers things before I can. Leslie, yes, it's very similar. It doesn't look exactly like it because we did that in Word and the actual application is, but we went through and tried to align it as closely as possible. So the sample application is not the sample application from last year. It's one that's been designed to model fairly closely, but you can, I believe I'm correct, Eileen and Kathy, double check, but you can actually print the entire application off Neighborly, can't you?
Yes.
So if you would prefer to like look at what's actually there, you know, you can do that. But we did the sample, so you could actually look at the material that you need before you actually get into the grant application itself. Just as a, I think I always find it when I'm planning on applying for a grant, it's always good to see what the information is because that gives you a chance to put it all together before you sit down so you're not looking for things as you're applying. So this is why we do that, but it should be pretty comparable. We may have missed an item or two, but we tried to align it as closely as possible with the Neighborly grant application online. Anything else? Well, again, this is not the only chance you have to talk to us. You can be in touch with us anytime. We are aware that because of the timing of this year with the new grant system that you're doing your application close to the same time that you your application for 2024 very much simultaneously with trying to get information in for your reimbursements for 2023. Again, we won't be doing this in the future. It was necessary this year. But because of that, please know we also are available to help you with your reimbursements. And we also encourage you to get those if you can possibly can to get those into us as quickly as possible before the August 15th deadline to help streamline the process of getting you your funding. And so you can cross that off your list while you're working on the application. And yeah, send that on to us and let us be the ones working on that while you're working on the application. That would be really the best case scenario. Any other questions? Well, thank you all so much for attending. That's the best way you can start on your CAIG application is to have as much information as possible. But again, we have recorded this session. We'll send this out. And if you have any other questions, please let us know. I'm looking, I think I see one more question. Or someone's, just a thank you. James and everyone else, Nick, Leslie, you are all very welcome. That's what we're here for. And let us know if you have any additional questions or problems. And again, log into the system, set up your profile, even if you're not ready to start working on the grant. And if you have any problems, let us know. Thanks to all of you for attending. It was our pleasure. And please contact us if you need anything else.
Thank you.